recently we've had virtualization, SOA, which again is the theme of the conference, and here I call it underscore AAS because it started out as software as a service, but we also now have information as a service, so you'll see IaaS. We have database as a service, DaaS. We have infrastructure as a service, and that essentially is another way of describing cloud computing or grid services. We also have platform as a service, which again is sort of a variant on cloud computing, except that in this case, we add applications that add value. Cloud computing can really be in two forms. One where you just pay for the infrastructure, and another higher level, such as something like Salesforce.com, where you also use applications that add value. Since the 1960s, computers have actually been our biggest bargain. If you look at the company that wanted sort of a medium-sized computer in 1964 would go out and get something like an IBM 1410, and that would cost $750,000. By 1972, if they were getting a mini computer, a PDP-11, that might cost them $30,000. Then by 1986, you had something like a Commodore Amiga, which had a lot more memory than these earlier systems. That was less than $2,000. And by 2002, I was running some benchmarks, and I was using a standard sort of Intel-based commodity server, dual processor, RAID array that cost $1,500. The problem I've found over the years is that people sometimes have difficulty being able to equate dollars in 1964 or dollars in 1972 to today's dollars. So another way of explaining to people the relative cost of computers over the last 40 years, which of course the cheap hardware drives a lot of our decisions, but one way I've done it is to express it in terms of how many Mustangs you could buy with the amount of money you spend on a computer. And you can see that the 1964 IBM 1410 cost you the equivalent of 310 Mustangs. Because the 1964 Mustang cost you under $2,400. If you went out and bought that server in 2003, it would cost you the equivalent of 0.089 Mustangs. So you can see there's a tremendous reduction in the price of computers. And then the $499 server that Dell had a few months ago would cost you 0.035 Mustangs.